Sarah Blackstone, Multimedia Manager here at the Newburyport Community Media Hub, and this is another episode of the PortMedia Open Studios. I have a special guest here with me. This is Mike Swanson, who's the Vice President of the Merrimack Valley Ship Model Club, and we are on location at the Community Senior Center for this spectacular day. What was it called?
Learn your community or something like
Thank
that?
you. Sorry, Mary. I'll put a graphic in there. So, Mike, tell me what brought you guys here today?
Well, one of the things that we're attempting to do with this ship model club, beyond just entertaining ourselves because we enjoy building model ships, we're trying to get some outreach and attract other people to model shipwright. The whole process of model shipbuilding. We'd like to think it's not a dying art form, but when you look at the membership of most of these model ship clubs, you'll see that most of us are my generation or older, and we're trying to attract some younger folks, especially some young kids, ideally, to this craft, before it becomes a dying art form. So, one of the reasons we're here is to provide that outreach to the community and get more people involved in model shipwright, the whole process of being a model shipwright, and we can accommodate beginners and those who have had some experience building model ships. My generation, we didn't have electronic tools that the kids have today, so we built things from scratch, just using our imagination. We'd like to get younger kids doing that as well. The best way to do that is to expose them to the process. And this outreach activity that we're attempting here in Newburyport is a great way to do that. And we've had some contact today with Youth Services, and they have our brochures, so we'd like to get them involved, and Alex is, as you know, Alex Bellinger is doing a program next week on putting ships in a bottle, which children always find interesting.
Oh, definitely.
And so we hope people will show up and enjoy it.
I definitely see this being a great activity for young kids. I bet a lot of these ships do need a steady hand for making them, but I think this would be a wonderful, fun activity for kids at home to try to learn, especially the whole idea of the concept of putting a open ship sail into a tiny little bottle. So I think that would be a lot of fun.
It's fascinating, and it's fun, because I've taken a couple of Alex's courses, and I've really enjoyed it.
Especially where there's so much history too. Most of the boats that I'm seeing here today are historical remakes, correct?
Well, that's a very good point. One of the things people ask me is, what ships do you want to make a model of? And I like ships that have some historical importance, because then you have the completed model, and you can tell people something about that particular ship that makes it interesting. Mm-hmm. For example, I'm building the Vasa, which is a Swedish warship that actually sank on its maiden voyage.
Oh, wow.
Back in 1629.
On its maiden voyage.
On its maiden voyage. It
Wow.
didn't last much more than 15 minutes when it left the dock.
Oh, no.
The king had ordered a second gun deck, and that made it top heavy. And as soon as the wind hit the sails, over she went, and the water came pouring in through the port side gun ports.
Wow.
And she just sank to the bottom.
Wow.
And so it's an interesting story. It's a beautiful ship as well, but it's a very interesting story.
You do learn a lot about kind of the mechanics of shipbuilding too then when you're making it. So you kind of learn a little bit about like why things are made the way that they are, which is kind of interesting.
Well, that's right. That's very true. And some of the same techniques that real shipwrights use, we actually have to use when we're building these model ships, like bending wood, for example.
Wow.
The wood doesn't like to be bent, So there are techniques that we have to use to actually create these models.
Now, do you guys have a location that you tend to go to, maybe like a workshop that you have? If I were to sign up and join, but I don't have tools that would be like a wood bending tool, where would I go?
Well, there are a number of resources that you can use to purchase these items, even online.
Okay.
But actually, I bend my wood by soaking them first in water and then holding them over a lit candle.
Whoa, okay, that's very cool.
That seems to work for me.
Oh, wow.
Others, they steam bend them or they heat bend them, but that's the process that I use.
But with your group, you all can work together, and if people need advice like that, of course, you guys are all to help out, correct?
That's really a very important role that clubs like this play, because we help each other out. There are tips and techniques that we use that the beginners would benefit from. And one of the things that we can do here that we can't do at our usual meeting place, which is at the Unitarian Universalist Church, is we actually have a workshop room that we can use upstairs
Oh,
on
okay.
these monthly meetings where people can actually get hands-on and watch the tips and techniques and try it themselves.
Wow. I know looking at some of these, they are very intricate and very detailed. I would even maybe say even a little intimidating for someone like myself who has never made them before, but is very interested. Especially you have like this big trend of making models or dioramas too nowadays. So I'm sure you'll get that that generation coming in. But what would you say to someone who's maybe intimidated but is interested?
Well, that's exactly what we don't want to happen, because we don't want people to purchase a kit and without realizing what's involved in making one of these kits. So we want them to start with something simple and develop their skills.
Okay,
And,
that's a good suggestion.
and as they grow, they can become a little bit more sophisticated, and the models can become a little bit more complicated. But we're a resource, the resource we would like people to take advantage of, because we have a lot of experience. And we can help people who've never done it before learn how to do it. And I tell you, these are the wonderful heirlooms to pass on to your descendants.
Oh, I completely agree.
Yeah.
My grandfather actually loved building ships himself. So how can people contact you guys?
Well, we're online, and we also have the brochures that we've been handing out at events like this.
Thanks.
Well, anyone who's interested in joining or even just watching one of our meetings can come to the Unitarian Universalist Church right off Pleasant Street.
Okay.
And we're in the basement, and
All
it's
right.
the second Saturday of every month.
What
And it
time?
runs from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock in the morning. And anyone, you don't have to be a member to attend. You can just pop in, and all of the people who are involved with the club are there, and we can give you any assistance that you want. If you want to join, if you just want to watch, you can do that.
Okay, great. I think we're going to go to a quick clip to meet 3 other gentlemen who are shipbuilders here, and so we're going to go right to that.
Okay, good afternoon. We are ship modelers from the Merrimack Valley Ship Model Club. My name is Alex Bellinger. To my left is my colleague Robin Neal. To my right is Marshall Gaffney. We are starting a series of open workshops on ship modeling here at the Senior Community Center, 331 High Street, the second Wednesday of every month. I will be the presenter for August. Marshall will be the presenter in October, and Robin will be the presenter in September. And we're going to talk for a minute or two about the things we are going to be discussing at these meetings. My specialty is ships and bottles. I have one on my lap, and if I can hand a microphone over to my colleague here, I'm just going to hold it up to show what one looks like. This is the fishing schooner Ingomar. She was built in Essex in 1904 and was known as the Queen of the Halibutters because she was so successful. She rang the bell for $400 a man in 1923, which is probably a record, and had a long, successful career, which ended in February of 1936 when she was wrecked on Plum Island during a blizzard. She was wrecked near the old polio camp, and she was a good ship to the end. Everybody got off her all right, and occasionally as the sands shift down there, you can still see her old bones. I think she's a lovely ship. People think of her as like a Blue Nose type schooner, but she was much more before Blue Nose, and to my idea, I think a lovely American sister. This is a wonderful old bottle. It's an antique in itself. It's a kerosene bottle. It's the kind of bottle that was used to fuel an old-fashioned kerosene stove, and it would be set up on the stove like this, where the flow of the kerosene would be controlled by a spring-loaded cap. And when it was empty, it'd be taken out to the barn or the vat and then refilled. Sounds very dangerous to me, but it's a very nice, sturdy working bottle. And I've saved it from being recycled. And these are a lot easier to keep clean than the models by my colleagues. Now I will turn this over to Robin Neal, who will talk about what he will be discussing in September.
Sometimes they build models out of card or paper, and they come in numerous sheets, all beautifully printed and colored, and you have to cut and fold thousands of parts, and it's kind of fun. So I'm going to be talking about that subject. I'll bring some kits with me and some completed models too. So this is a model of what we used to call a woody. This is a 26-foot wooden speedboat, and this is what we call scratch build, where this is built from the plans. And a little unusual, this actually, we don't talk about this much, but this was a commission job for a boatyard in Florida, and built specifically to be shipped to the boat show in Hong Kong and Dubai. And they were building originally 30 of these boats, and they paid me for it, but unfortunately didn't. The company wasn't going to survive. They gave the model back, but the contract required that everything had to be made except for the propeller. So you have to scrounge. All the fittings had to be made to match the plans on the real boat, and leather seats. So this is one of my wife's handbags had to go, and the exhaust ports are bearings from a photocopy machine, and what looks like chrome isn't really. It's just tin foil glued over wood. And so, this was built so it could be FedExed to Hong Kong for a relatively low amount. So it's been all over the world and came back, and they gave it back to me. So here it is. So this is, I guess I call it a woody. This is a boat planned to sell for about $300,000 with a big engine in it. And there have been no orders so far, so she's back where we started. And now I'll turn this over to Marshall.
Hi, I'm Marshall Gaffney, and I like to make half hulls. I have one here in my hand. This is a model of a sandbagger, and they were called sandbaggers because they had bags of sand that they would transfer from one side of the boat to the other, depending on which way the boat was heeling. They were very fast. This boat sank about 4 or 5 times because they carried huge amounts of sail. And she's carved out of mahogany and pine and a couple of other woods, and is mounted on a backboard. These boats were carved by the local boat builders, and then from this particular model, this piece of wood, they actually made the design of the boat and built the boat from it. So, and then it usually became part of the contract between the boat builder and the guy that was buying the boat, and they make lovely displays on the wall. And back to Alex.
I certainly hope that people who are interested in ship modeling and maybe would like to learn something about how it's done and may try it themselves would feel comfortable coming to these workshops. In each of these, we hope to feel people become more aware of some of the specialties, but the rest of the workshops will be open for free discussions on whatever project you're working on or would like to be working on. Thank you.
Well, this has been so nice to meet you, Mike. You and the rest of the gentlemen here, you are very, very talented, and I hope you inspire a whole other generation to get involved and make ships themselves. So
We would like that very much.
Me too. Me too. All right. Well, I hope you have a great day, and
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for watching the PortMedia Open Studios. I hope you enjoyed this, and go make some ships.